What happens when one of Hollywood's most respected actors finds himself in the hot seat, facing questions he never expected on live television? Tonight, we're diving into one of the most shocking moments in talk show history. The night Liam Neeson, known for his calm demeanor and commanding presence, reached his breaking point on the Norton show. This wasn't just another celebrity spat. It was a complete meltdown that left the studio audience stunned and the host scrambling to regain control. Before we get into this incredible story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments what you think really pushed Neeson over the edge. The red recording light was glowing bright in the BBC studios as Norton settled into his iconic chair, his usual cheeky grin plastered across his face. The audience was buzzing with anticipation, cameras were rolling, and everything seemed perfect for another night of celebrity banter and harmless fun. Liam Neeson sat comfortably on the famous red sofa, looking every bit the distinguished gentleman that audiences had come to expect. The interview started smoothly enough, with Norton cracking jokes about Neeson's latest action thriller, and the actor playing along with his usual dry wit. "So, Liam," Norton said, leaning forward with that mischievous glint in his eye, "I have to ask about something that's been making the rounds on social media. There's this video of you at a charity event last month, and well, let's just say the internet's had quite a field day with it." Neeson's expression shifted slightly, his jaw tightening almost imperceptibly. "I'm not sure what you're referring to, Graham." "Oh, come on," Norton pressed, his voice taking on that sing-song tone he used when he thought he was onto something juicy. "The one where you're giving that speech about endangered wildlife, and there's this rather unfortunate moment with the microphone." The audience began to chuckle, sensing a setup for another harmless celebrity embarrassment story. But something in Neeson's posture suggested this wasn't going to play out as expected. "I gave a heartfelt speech about conservation efforts," Neeson replied, his voice steady but with an edge creeping in. "I'm not sure why that would be fodder for entertainment." Norton, either missing the warning signs or choosing to ignore them, pressed forward with his trademark persistence. "Well, it's not so much the speech itself, but the bit where you accidentally knocked over the podium and, well, the microphone picked up some rather colorful language." "That was a private moment of frustration," Neeson said, his hands clasped together in his lap. "I was there to support a cause I care deeply about." Norton's grin widened, clearly thinking he was building toward a great punchline. "But surely you can see the humor in it. I mean, here you are, this serious, dramatic actor, talking about protecting polar bears, and then wham, down goes the podium, and out comes a string of words that would make a sailor blush." The studio audience was eating it up, their laughter growing louder with each detail Norton added. But those paying close attention could see that Neeson was not sharing in the amusement. His knuckles were white now, and there was a dangerous stillness about him, the kind of calm anyone familiar with his intense film roles would recognize. "I'm going to stop you right there," Neeson said slowly, his Irish accent becoming more pronounced as it always did when his emotions were running high. But Norton was on a roll, the audience's laughter fueling his energy. And then, oh, this is the best part. "You tried to set the podium back up, but it was one of those folding ones and it just kept collapsing. Every time it fell, the microphone caught another expletive." "That's enough," Neeson said, his voice dropping to that low, menacing tone that had made him famous in his action films. Norton finally seemed to realize something was wrong, but instead of backing down, he tried to win Neeson over with charm. "Oh, lighten up, Liam. It's just a bit of fun. The video's got millions of views. People love seeing celebrities being human." "Human?" Neeson repeated, his eyes narrowing. "So you think exploiting someone's moment of genuine passion for a cause they believe in is showing them being human?" The laughter in the studio began to fade as the tension grew thick. Norton's smile faltered for just a moment before he tried to regain his footing. "I'm just saying it's relatable. We've all had those moments where things don't go according to plan." "Have you?" Neeson asked, leaning forward slightly. "Have you ever stood in front of a room full of people trying to raise money to save animals that are literally dying because of human greed and stupidity, only to have that moment turned into a punchline for entertainment?" Norton's laugh became forced, uncomfortable. "Well, no, but—" "Nothing," Neeson interrupted, his voice rising just enough to cut through the silence. You sit here in your comfortable studio making jokes about other people's misfortunes, and you call it entertainment. Liam, I think you're taking this a bit too seriously. It's all in good fun. Good fun? Neeson repeated, his voice dangerously quiet again. Tell me, Graham, what exactly is fun about mocking someone who's trying to make a difference in the world? The tension in the studio was now unbearable. Norton shifted in his chair, clearly realizing he had misjudged his guest's mood. But his years of hosting experience kicked in, and he tried to smooth things over. Look, I'm not mocking anyone, Norton said carefully. I'm just pointing out that these things happen, and sometimes we need to laugh at ourselves. Laugh at ourselves? Neeson's voice carried a bitter edge. Is that what you think this is about? Self-deprecation? The audience went completely silent. This was no longer the playful celebrity banter they'd come to expect. The camera zoomed in, capturing every expression on both men's faces. Liam, I respect what you do for charity, Norton said in a softer tone. Truly I do. But part of being in the public eye means accepting that sometimes these moments get shared. Shared? Neeson repeated, raising an eyebrow. You mean exploited for cheap laughs while the actual message gets lost? That's not what I meant, Norton protested, but his confidence was fading fast. Isn't it, though? Neeson pressed, turning toward him. When was the last time you used your platform to actually discuss the issues these charities fight for, rather than mining them for comedy? Norton's smile was now tight. We do plenty of serious segments on this show. Do you? Neeson asked sharply. Or do you just use serious topics as setups for punchlines? Because from where I'm sitting, everything gets filtered through irony. Norton tried appealing to the audience. I think our viewers appreciate a bit of levity with their news. Levity? Neeson repeated, tasting the word. That's an interesting way to describe making light of climate change, extinction, and human suffering. Norton's patience was wearing thin. His professional calm began to crack. Now hold on. That's unfair. I never made light of any of those things. Didn't you? Neeson's voice was steady, carrying years of frustration. Every time someone comes here to discuss something meaningful, you find a way to turn it into entertainment. You reduce their passion to a punchline. That's not true, Norton shot back, his own Irish accent slipping through. I give people a platform to talk about their causes. A platform? Neeson laughed coldly. You give them a stage to be your dancing monkeys while you pull the strings for the biggest laugh. The studio was silent. Even the audience stopped moving. Norton's team was frantically signaling from behind the cameras, unsure whether to cut to commercial or let it play out. I resent that, Norton said, his voice rising. I treat all my guests with respect. Respect? Neeson's voice dropped to a whisper. You just spent 10 minutes trying to make me laugh about a moment when I was trying to help save endangered species. How is that respectful? Norton threw up his hands. It was just a funny moment. What you do is real, Neeson said coldly. The people you mock, the causes you trivialize, the dignity you strip away, that's all real. I don't mock people, Norton said, his voice shaking. Don't you? Neeson took a step closer to the host's desk. You mocked me for caring. You mocked my attempt to make a difference. And when I called you out, you attacked my character. I was making a point about consistency. No, Neeson said sharply. You're deflecting. You're trying to tear me down because I had the nerve to suggest you could do better. Norton gripped the desk, his hands shaking. I don't have to listen to this from someone who plays heroes on screen, but only cares about a paycheck. The air turned to ice. The audience held its breath. You know what the difference is between you and me, Graham? Neeson asked quietly. When I play someone who seeks justice, it's because I understand what justice means. When I protect the innocent on screen, it's because I know what innocence is worth. He held up a hand to stop Norton from interrupting. But you sit here every night surrounded by applause, and you think that gives you the right to diminish others? You think entertainment excuses cruelty? It's not cruel, Norton said weakly. Isn't it? Neeson's voice rose suddenly, making people in the front row flinch. When you take someone's real passion and turn it into a joke, what is that if not cruel? You're taking this too personally, Norton said. Maybe because it is personal, Neeson replied, his voice low again. Every time someone like you turns genuine emotion into entertainment, you make the world a little meaner, a little smaller. Norton wiped his forehead. I think we should take a commercial break. No, Neeson said firmly. We're going to finish this. This is what real talk looks like, Graham. This is what happens when someone refuses to be your performing seal. The host looked toward his producers, who were frozen in place. You want to know what I really think? Neeson continued. You've spent so long hiding behind humor that you've forgotten how to care about something without turning it into a joke. Liam, I think you're overreacting to what was meant to be a lighthearted moment. Lighthearted, Neeson repeated. You keep saying that like it makes it okay. Like it absolves you of responsibility. Maybe we got off on the wrong foot, Norton tried. Why don't we start over? Start over? Neeson gave a slight, pitying smile. You think you can attack someone's character and then just reset like it never happened? I didn't attack your character, Norton said weakly. You questioned my motives. You implied I don't actually care about the causes I support. If that's not attacking someone's character, what is it? Norton was speechless. The silence dragged on. You know what's truly sad? Neeson said finally. You could have used this moment to talk about real conservation work, the organizations, the challenges, the progress. Instead, you chose the cheap laugh. The audience expects a certain kind of show, Norton murmured. The audience expects what you teach them to expect, Neeson replied, and you've taught them to enjoy humiliation. Neeson stood up, walking toward the edge of the stage. Where are you going? Norton asked, panic rising. I'm leaving, Neeson said simply, because I won't sit here and pretend this is acceptable. You can't just walk off the show, Norton called out. Watch me, Neeson said, continuing toward the door. This is live television. You're ruining the show. Neeson stopped and turned. No, Graham. You ruined the show when you decided that my genuine concern for endangered wildlife was less important than getting a cheap laugh. We can edit this out, Norton said desperately. Start over with a new topic. Edit it out? Neeson gave a dark chuckle. You want to pretend this never happened. That's exactly the problem. You want to erase anything real. That's not what I meant. But it's what you do, Neeson said, his voice final. Every night you take real people and sand off the rough edges until they're smooth enough to make your audience comfortable. The crowd sat frozen, unsure how to react. I've built a career on honesty, Neeson continued, his hand on the studio door, on playing men who stand by their principles. I'm not about to abandon mine to save your show. Think about your fans, Norton said, his voice shaking. They tune in to see you. My fans, Neeson said, with a faint smile that didn't reach his eyes, would expect me to walk away from someone who mocks passion and principle. This is professional suicide, Norton warned. No, Neeson replied, pushing open the door. This is professional integrity, something you might want to look into. The door shut behind him with a quiet click that somehow sounded deafening. Norton stood frozen behind his desk, staring at the closed door. The audience sat in stunned silence, unsure whether to applaud, boo, or just breathe. The cameras kept rolling, and what had started as a lighthearted interview had turned into one of the most unforgettable moments in television history.